August 13. Okay, we're having a feedback here. Arvic, I think you left the monitor open. Anyway, it's August 13, 2021, Friday, and I can hear myself talking, so I don't know. This is just going to be one of those days. Friday the 13th nga daw po eh. Okay, now we will go straight to the front page of the Philippine Star. And there you go. The main headline, Palace to DOH explain COVID fund spending. On the upper part of the front page, 80 charged for fake news, other pandemic offenses. DTI defers increases on SRP amid ECQ. Good news, pregnant women now part of the job priority group. So, madaling sabi, kung kayo po ay buntis, ay pwede na po kayong mabakunahan. Kasi nagbabago palagian yung mga patakaran na yan. Pati nga yung kapatid kong may breast cancer ay nabakunahan na rin. So, yung mga may comorbidity, mga high risk, and pregnant women are now included in the list of priority for vaccination. Now, let's go to the bottom of the front page. And there you go, COA, DOH failed to use 59 billion of 2020 budget. Ayun na po, no? Kasi, well, anyway, we'll go to that later. Now we go to the new COVID cases surpasses 12,000 for second consecutive day. Ano nga, 12,439. Aba, ilang daan na lang, nag-13,000 sana on Friday the 13th. No, hindi naman sana, montik na. And then Bethel Woes in Barangay suspends freedom of speech kasi may mga lugar sa Pilipinas na nagnanganga ang ating mga ninuno, yung mga matatanda at dura ng dura kung saan-saan. Okay. Important part of the front page of the Philippine Star, like I mentioned before, the number of deaths. Ayan po, no, tumaas na naman, 165 deaths. Presumably, this is accurate and all COVID-related. Okay. Then let's go forward to the news behind the headlines. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, we'll have to go for a quick break. We have to solve a problem with our audio here because I can't talk and listen to myself at the same time, or I'll start feeling I'm paranoid or I'm losing my mind. We'll go for a quick break, and Arvic, please take it away. my apologies, my sincere apologies for that momentary break because we really had to re-enter StreamYard. That happens once in a while. You will have an echo, a feedback, and it is so disruptive that you can't even do your work. But anyway, all you have to do is actually exit and re-enter StreamYard. Now, going to the front page of the Philippine Star, let's go to the news behind the headlines. Okay, 80 people have been charged with various cybercrimes related to the pandemic since March last year. Of this number, 52 are facing charges for spreading fake news about COVID-19. The rest of them are allegedly involved in scams and illegal online sale of medical supplies. From what I understand, this is just from the Philippine National Police Cybercrime Division, Anti-Cybercrime Division. Iba pa po yung sa NBI. Nadinig naman ninyo yung interview natin kay Sir Vic Lorenzo, head of the NBI Cybercrime Unit. I hope I got his name right. And he said that they are actually recently, just this week, they've targeted 5 people. And in addition to the many others na nasa listahan na nila kung hindi lang tinamaan ng ECQ. Now, let's go back to the news. The country has recorded over 12,000 new COVID-19 cases for the second consecutive day, while 165 new deaths 165 new deaths were tallied. The total COVID-19 cases reported in the Philippines has breached 1.7 million, while around 87,000 cases remain active. Okay. And the quote of the day comes from the book of Colossians in the Bible, chapter 2, verse 2. My goal is that they may be encouraged in heart and united in love, so that they may have the full riches of complete understanding, in order that they may know the mystery of God, namely Christ. Yan po. The question now for many of us is, what is our goal in life? Kasi may mga kaibigan ako. Like yesterday, I got to speak to a couple of my neighbors here in LPL in Lipa City. And so I'd like to greet them. Good morning, Ma'am Gurley and Sir Senen Capistrano. And of course, Kuya Serge Capistrano, our neighbors here in, actually on the richer side of the fence. Doon sila sa summit, kami dito, kami sa lumang LPL. We were talking about life. We were talking about how everything has changed, even business. And sometimes many people think that if you are 65, 75, 80 years old, okay na ako, retire na ako, set na. And I pointed out that, even at 75 or 85, there are little things that we need to pay attention to. For instance, yung mga iiwanan yung ari-arian, the estate, belongings, property. You may have raised wonderful, loving kids, etc., but they are still human beings. And if nothing is defined, nothing is properly divided, you may end up leaving a curse instead of a blessing. Marami na po akong kilalang ganyan na nag-iwan ng pamana, yung pamana ay naging panira ng pamilya kasi nag-away-away ang pamilya. Okay, so we need to know our goals in life. Now, some of you have to ask yourself, puro na lang ba trabaho? Puro na lang anak? Paano naman ako? Etc. You need to have goals, and those goals must be aligned with Christ. Kasi hindi naman po tayo pinayaman para lang magtago kasi Alibaba. Diba? Tago ng kwarta pagkatapos biglang may magnanakaw. No. Okay, you are blessed to be a blessing to others. Okay, so in any case, let's move on. And so, ayun, kamusta nga pala? Greetings to Mr. Levy Lopez. We don't normally, send out greetings to viewers, etc. but some viewers are really just, makes you feel good. Like Levy, he will call me suddenly if, like the other day, we had some technical difficulty. He immediately texted me and said, Kuya, what's wrong with your program? Are you on air? Blah, blah. So I really appreciate na talagang they're into it. Okay, so thank you very much for those of you who really watch the program, monitor the program, and let us know if there are problems when we are being broadcasted. And those who are asking about replays, sa YouTube na lang po. No? Please, you are watching us via Cignal TV channels 8 and 250, but you can also watch us via YouTube kasi may mga nagtatanong, anyari sa replay ninyo? Aba, hindi ako may-ari ng stasyon. Hindi ako general manager ng stasyon. Nandito po ako sa Lipa. No? I don't spend all my time monitoring everything that's going on. So some people, ba't walang replay? Ay, sabi ko, watch it on YouTube by entering One News PH agenda. Yon, okay po. So nagkakaintindihan na tayo dyan. Ano? Now, let's move on to our other topics here. Parang, ewan ko, kung na-miss ko or I already read it, the news about Malacanang ordering the department to have a comprehensive and clear explanation to the Commission on Audit's findings on supposed deficiencies in managing COVID-19 response. Yan po yung headline. Health Secretary Francisco Duque III said he and his officials are ready to submit their response to state auditors next week. COA flagged the DOH for supposedly failing to properly use its 67 billion peso COVID-19 response. Okay, so yan, nabalikan ko yung balita na yan. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that has always been the defense of Secretary Duque. Walang ninakaw, walang corruption. I agree. There is no corruption. There is blatant incompetence. Okay? I think that almost qualifies as graft. I will have to check with some lawyers to find out if not spending money allocated by law for certain programs in a time of national emergency and global pandemic does not qualify as graft. Kasi alam nyo po, nagkakagulo na yung mga iba-ibang lugar. We need oxygen, we need ventilators, we need ICU beds, etc., etc. And there is how many billion? Yung 11 billion yata yung para lang doon sa healthcare workers nakaparada. And I remember a few weeks ago before COVID-19, the ECQ, the latest ECQ was declared. I remember the health workers were up in arms. They were protesting the non-payment of hazard pays or money that was due them, etc., yung mga nurses, etc. Alam nyo, sinasabi ni Secretary Duque, we once were chami-chami good buddies dahil sa hilig namin dalawa sa kotse. Pero alam nyo, sorry, Secretary, friendship aside, again, you dropped the ball on this. Imagine billions of pesos if we had spent those billions of pesos just feeding people and keeping them home, maybe we could have really locked out COVID-19 and Delta variant. But as it is, with this 2-week ECQ, the DBM had to, shuffle around, look for money, pang-ayuda. Ano naman yan? Tapos sasabihin natin na, anong tawag nito? Ito, may pinadala sa akin yung ating agenda staff. Babasahin ko na lang para, sinabi ito ng Rappler, 67.3 billion deficiencies in COVID-19 funds, including 11.9 billion unused risk allowance. Okay? 1.2 billion unutilized, undelivered equipment. 2.8 billion idle for infrastructure project. namumuti na yung buhok ko dito, kakasabi, I repeat and repeat, we need more hospitals, we need more facilities, and then you find out 2.8 billion unused, okay? Tapos, 95 million expired idle drugs and medicines. This is from the Rappler report, Department of Health Major Audit Findings for 2020 pa. 2020, ewan ko kung ano mangyari sa 2021, okay? 24.6 billion unused for public health service. 65.3 million deficiencies in procurement assets. 306.7 million unused for disaster risk reduction. Ayan, tapusin na natin. 441.2 million unauthorized depository account. Ay nako. 3.97 billion undocumented projects, doubtful transactions. 557 million in excessive and unnecessary expenditures. Alam nyo po, kami, we have tried to restrain ourselves, be supportive of the DOH, of the national government. But naku po, pagka ganito naman, na natataranta na ang taong bayan, biglang lalabas itong COA report na ganito. It is not about corruption, Mr. President, Mr. Secretary. It is about utter incompetence. Okay? Now, who is incompetent? I will not judge. Hindi ako nagpapalakad ng DOH. But you know that 165 people died yesterday. 2 days ago it was, or 3 days ago it was 154, etc., etc. Sorry, I cannot hold back. I will not hold back when you had all the money and you parked it. Sorry, it may be there. But if the money is there, billions of pesos is there, has remained there, was not used, okay, then leave it there. But you, Mr. Secretary, have no business being there because all of that was for you to use. Sabi nga ng ibang tao, mabuti pa yung magnanakaw, ginamit yung pera Ito, pinapagamit mo na yung pera, hindi pa ginamit. Ayan na po. Ewan ko na po. So, sorry na lang po mga kaibigan. I know this is not a commentary show, but I just had to put that out there. Anyway, moving forward, the Department of Health said that the COVID-19 pandemic contributes to the mental stress of adolescents, etc. Pinag-uusapan po natin lagi yung mga bata. Alam nyo, there are so many adults, a little younger than me, my age, who are lamenting what to do with their seniorly parents who are in detention because of COVID. Let's go to our recent discovery. Dr. Joan Rifareal, Fellow of the Philippine Psychiatric Association. Doc Joan, good morning once again to you.
Good morning po, Sir Cito, and to everyone po listening right now and watching po your program. Morning po.
Pasensya ka na, baka nalito ka kanina at sabi mo, naku, komentarya pala ito, napasukan ko. Hindi po, but I just feel so strongly about what's been happening and so many of, I have friends who have lost their family savings because of COVID-19 and yung mga anak nila nataranta, naghahanap ng gamot, naghahanap ng hospital, pagkatas malalaman mong ganito nangyari. Anyway, that's not your concern. That's going to be my concern. But the concern of some people, well, marami-rami na rin mga kaibigan kong may mga elderly parents. They are in, my friends who are 45, 50, may mga nanay, tatay na 70, 80. Eh sabi ko, ano bang gagawin namin? How do we make them understand? We can't bring them out. And they're going, mamatay na lang ako, pero kailangan kong makalabas, And how do people assess this situation? Because many of them don't want to bring out their parents because
Yes.
they're really high risk, okay? And hindi naman nila mapadala sa doktor at hindi rin magpupunta sa hospital. Pero
Mhm.
sabi nga, Kuyang, help us naman. No? We don't know how to evaluate our elderly, seniorly parents, and we don't know what to do with them.
Yes, of course. It's truly understandable yung situation, no, Sir Cito. Talagang ano po, no? Kaya sila po included, in fact, priority po sila number 1 doon po sa vulnerable groups, no? Kasama po yung pregnant and those with comorbidities and of course the frontline healthcare workers. So, very important po, educate po natin, no? Awareness is the key. Na we really need to protect them more than ever. Ito po yung panahon ngayon na kung pwede talaga to limit po their yung galaw po nila. Make sure also po that physically and yung mga maintenance medications nila are all provided for, at nutrition is also good kasi ngayon po more than ever kailangan natin po silang alagaan, and of course po socially also. Hindi naman po ibig sabihin na since nalilimit po ang kanilang movement to, for example po kung dati kaya natin to go to the park, ano po yun, Sir Cito, nag-exercise sila po, no? Yung iba nag-yoga po sa park. Hindi pwede po ngayon sa ngayon yon, but it doesn't mean po na they cannot do it sa comfort of their homes. So we can, as children po, as the grandchildren, we can in fact sobra pong laki ng atin pong responsibility to make sure that our elderly, the senior members of our family are kept safe and protected and secure in our homes.
Dr. Joan, I think step by step, Kasi
Opo.
the first problem that many of these families and these people have is that they've isolated their mother or their parents in a different house, or they live in a different house with the caretaker, and yung lolo at lola o yung tatay o nanay nakaupo doon nagsasabi, nasa na yung walang yung anak ko na yan? Hindi na ako dinadalaw. Bakit ayaw dalhin dito yung mga apo ko? And I think
Yes.
it gets progressively worse when they are in their 80s, when dementia has started to set in. And then on the other side, you have the son or daughter who loves the father or the mother, pero parang guilty ba?
Yeah, opo. Yeah, of course. That's why, Sir Cito, ang lagi po namin nire-remind, no, even if we are physically po distant from our relatives po, from our loved ones, from our family members, especially po, kasi nga kailangan i-protect natin sila po, di ba po, in their own parang bubble na sa kanilang mga tahanan, then we remain socially connected po. Dito po papasok ngayon, no, yung how we can use technology for us and not against us, di ba po? Kasi ang social media ngayon po, technology, in fact, Sir Cito, di ba, sa news niyo kanina, no, there were fake news, etc. We can always view it po and social media, we can use it, no? Let's find the balance and let it work for us and not against us. No? So, meaning work for us, meaning let's use it to stay socially connected. Kahit po yung mga video calls, if we maintain connectedness, social connect, kahit sa mga video calls po, especially for our loved ones na nasa abroad or nasa mga probinsya, ang tagal natin hindi po nagkikita-kita, pati mga apo, no, they can say sa video calls po nila na, hi lolo, hi lola. So para po, the connectedness is still there. And we can also encourage them po to participate in mga kung meron po silang mga no, yung mga the things that they can do para wag po sila masyado pong ma-bore in their own homes. Kasi nga po, kulang ang mga bisita sa ngayon, bawal pa. They can do po, yung iba po, in-encourage namin to do exercises pa rin sa kanilang tahanan or watch movies po. Alam niyo po yun, Sir Cito, ang gusto nila po kasi pag minsan may nakakausap sila about mga life stories, it makes them feel very yung parang ang tingin po nila kasi doon very enriching po na nakaka-share sila ng kanilang life stories to their grandchildren. So yun din po, no, we can do that through video calls po or video chats, mga ganun po. And dapat po may tuturo lang, may mag-assist sa mga lolos and lolas.
Pero Dr. Joan, I don't know if you're in a position to make an
Yes po.
assessment or give us an answer, but you know, I think many of my friends and some of our viewers are dealing with this question. Ano ba talaga ang mas maigi in the long run? What is the best in the long run? Should I continue isolating my parents or my parent who is elderly to protect that parent from COVID-19? Kasi parang the general thinking is we don't want to risk bringing COVID to mama,
Yeah.
papa, or to lolo, lola.
Mhm.
But then, on the other side of it, what if they die? 'Di ba
Yes.
parang we lost our precious few months, year, or a year and a half because this thing is
Opo.
dragged on and it will drag on to the next to a 2-year period, I am certain. But
Correct.
the question is, for someone dealing with these questions and this
Yes.
guilt, uh, should I just risk it and bring them home with us?
Yeah.
And damn what happens, or tiisan na lang tayo, and then what is the consequence? Long-term guilt.
Yes, opo. Which is, again po, it's truly understandable. That's why po ngayon, Sir Cito, always po, no, ang situation kasi natin now, we are currently still in a pandemic. So there are definitely po, may mga things beyond our control at this point, no? Like the pandemic, the outcome of this, ECQ, the protocols that we need to follow. But to address po yung ganyan na concern po, which is really very valid, lalo na po sa ating mga Pilipino, na tayo po ay talagang family-oriented, in fact, extended families po tayo. Then let's focus po on the things that we have control over para we can do something about it. So for example po, kahit na may mga bagong variants ngayon like Delta and it's highly transmissible, etc. But let's focus. Yes, it's there, given yon, but focus tayo on what we can do about it so that we can still, as much as we can, do pa rin po the things na may pwede po natin makontrol. No? And wag tayong mag-guilty, wag tayong malungkot, at para wag maging lonely ang ating mga lolos, lolas, or dads, or moms. So number one po is vaccination is good. I mean po, ako po personally, I'm an advocate for it. So let's get vaccinated para once there is that extra layer of protection, then mas confident tayo na to visit our family members. Number two is to always maintain health po. I mean, the safety, no? So, kailangan lagi po tayong conscious of ourselves, of na dapat po when we go to our parents' house, dapat malinis tayo, alcohol, protective gears, masks,
Yun
etc.
nga ang problem,
Yes.
Doktora. That's a problem.
Opo.
Many of these people I know, they just talk to their parents online because they're just so freaked out. They're so scared that baka may madala silang virus. And you can tell, you can see the pain in their face, no? Yung
Yeah.
mga parang am I being a cruel son or daughter na tinitiis ko yung nanay ko ganito o yung tatay ko na hindi nakikita kami physically,
Yes.
etc.
Opo, which is talaga pong sa times, no, there can be that conflict talaga po within us, which is, yes, totoo po yun. Sometimes talaga po, isipin natin, will I risk this versus po the feelings of guilt din sa atin. But again, if depende din po kasi po yun, no, sa ano po, no, yung if we look at it po from a standpoint, now we do everything po to keep ourselves safe para it will also follow that we are able to protect din po yung the people around us. Kaya number one po talaga yun, di ba? Let's always take care of ourselves and be the best po, no? Be at our best po of health, etc. Para po we can take care of
Yeah.
those under our care also.
But
Like
in
po,
terms of
vitamins.
yeah, no, but in terms of psychiatry, because I
Opo.
mean this is all mental. Uh,
Yes.
in terms of psychiatry, how do the children or the individuals who are responsible for isolating parents justify to themselves? Kasi alam mo,
Ah,
yung trip, yung bang lagi nasa utak mo yun,
yeah.
kawawa, kawawa, and then at the end, sisisihin mo yung sarili mo.
Yeah, of course po, let us never, kung yun po yung ano natin, kung yun po yung decision natin, no, na which is for us, if we feel, kasi po, kasi may kanya-kanya naman tayong stories po in our family. So, if we feel na that is the best way, that is the best option now, then let's ano po, no, let's stand by it po. Make sure lang po na again in life kasi it's not naman always yes or no, no, na parang bibisita ba ako or hindi, no, hindi or pupunta ako always. So we can always look at find that balance po, meaning maybe there are other options available po para we do not feel as guilty po as possible, or wag po tayong malungkot, we do not feel that grief. Kasi Sir Cito ha, ito palang mga situations na to, there is that feeling of loss po, loss, no? Yung loss, be it perceived loss, yung parang
Mm.
perceived loss na parang na perceived loss of that family bonding, family po na togetherness, no, perceived loss kasi nga magkakalayo physically, or actual loss, no, which can really happen, like actual loss parang nagkawatak-watak na and nagkakalayo, hindi na nakikita, and all of these can really have an impact on our psychological and mental health po, no. There is that grieving process na we may go through at this
So,
time. Hindi lang po tayo, pati mga bata, as mentioned kanina, yung they
mm.
also grieve, quote unquote, because of the losses of opportunity, mga school events that they missed during this time of quarantine, online classes. So, in fact po, Sir Cito, lahat tayo, we are going through some sort of grieving process now. So, yes, ang guilt po is part of that, the part, but always let's remember na there is a process, no, for us to be able to reach that point of acceptance na this too shall pass, temporary lang ito. Let's always remember that kahit naman yung mga previous pandemics natatapos din, no? So ito
Mhm.
po, if we take good care of ourselves and we make sure also that our loved ones are protected, I'm sure this too shall pass soon, and we pray na it's really soon, and wag po tayong mawalan ng pag-asa. So part po of
Okay,
grieving
but
talaga yun.
yeah,
Opo.
I think we're all grieving. Mabuti na banggit mo yan
Yes.
na
Opo.
may malalim na lungkot, halos pagluluksa na, and there are many families who lost someone. Kumbaga,
Yeah.
nagkasakit, dinala mo sa ospital, bumalik sa'yo, nasa garapon na.
Yes.
Nasa,
Opo.
I sorry, the only term I know in Tagalog, close to Tagalog, is not even Tagalog, is it's Spanish, yung garapon. It's an urn, no? Urno,
Yeah.
sabi nila. Parang, oh, tinagalog mo lang yung English eh. Okay, yung urn. And parang, I
Really.
don't know, people, how do you find closure? How do you come to terms that because I've seen this nakita ko na ito sa
Yeah.
cremation rites because once in a while parang nagiging emergency prayer person ako or pastor-pastoran, biglang sasabihin, kuya, pwede ikaw na lang mag-ano ng prayers kasi wala kami makuha. So, and parang nalugi yung pamilya. They bring in the body, we pray over the person, and then they take away the body to be cremated. And I remember one particular incident where the family could not even hold the urn because they were so shocked because they did not realize that you're not going to see this coffin go into a hole or into the ground. You're just going to receive a replacement, parang
Yes.
urno lang, and uh, they had a
Yes.
difficult time, and so ever since that
Yeah.
time I always tell families na nakakasama ko na, guys, girls, when we bring the body of the dead there, what will come out is a jar. You better prepare yourselves for this reality because baka sabihin nyo para kayong nalugi or you will be in denial for many months. How do people come to terms with this?
Yes, opo. Which is, Sir Cito, definitely po, when we go through this form of loss po, talagang it's really understandable na may grieving. Na? The grieving process is there. We mourn, for the loss, we grieve po. And let's remember po na hindi siya kaagad-agad po no, na napaproseso. It really may take some time. So let's acknowledge that. And tama yung sinabi niyo, Sir Cito, na there is that, in fact, no, denial. In fact, that is in terms of yung may stages po kasi ang grieving po natin na process. So the first stage, in fact, is denial. So, which is really what can happen po. Denial po talaga na why, and anger can be there, bargain, saan po, ganito, kaya papasok yung guilt, no, sana dinala ko na kaagad sa ospital noon, or sana nandun ako, etc. And of course, symptoms of depression, that's also part po of the grieving process before we come to terms with it, no, before we can really accept it na it has happened. So, and it can be traumatic also po. Nandun din yung part, no, na trauma, which can have lingering effects po, no, meron siyang mga prolonged effects. So, it may take some time, but what I always po remind everyone who go through this grieving process po is really to feel it. Feel po talaga natin, because the more po, yung sinabi niya, Sir Cito, na denial, no? So again, it's part of the process, but better po if we feel it, we go through the pain. I know na it's really very painful. If we need to cry, to talk about it, telling and retelling about our experiences can definitely help as well.
Who suffers longer? Yung iyak ng kwento na talagang nagpipighati, who's really mourning physically and emotionally openly, or the one who just toughs it up na parang, well, sorry, that's it, he's gone, she's gone, and time to move on. Who suffers
Aha.
more?
Opo. Of course po, ang ating mga coping strategies differ po, no, from person to person, but studies have shown na telling and retelling po, when we, kahit na anong form of trauma, in fact, kahit na any form of loss, when we tell and retell, that is one process talaga po to help us move forward and be able po to process everything. Kasi hindi lang po emotions yun, Sir Cito, no? We also process our thoughts. Yung kasama doon, no, yung guilt, mga what ifs, kasi sometimes yun yung nakaka-torture, and mga what if ito yun, what if ganito. So it's also part of that, no? When we tell and retell, then we also process our thoughts, yung mga negative perceptions, negative cognitions natin, we are able po to correct those emotions and behaviors. Kasi sometimes po when we deny it, it may come out later in the form of mga not so healthy na behaviors later on. Kasi nga po, hindi po siya na proseso ng maayos, yung ating thoughts, feelings, or emotions and behaviors.
Okay, well, I'll have to leave it at that, Doc Joan, and as always, may mga nasi-share naman tayo sa mga tagapakinig. Thank you for your time, and
Thank you
keep
po.
us posted. God
Yes.
bless you.
God bless you, Sir Cito. Thank you very much, and take care po.
Okay,
Thank you
that's
po.
Dr. Joan Rifareal, Fellow of the Philippine Psychiatric Association. And yun lang po, no, reminder sa inyo, I think that is very therapeutic if you have lost someone or going through, this guilt thing. Talk to someone, share with someone. Kasi alam niyo po yung mga nagtitigas-tigasan, yung mga tigasaing, tiga marami kasi siga diyan no? Nagmamatigas. Nako po, baka magaya kayo sa akin. It took 4 years before I realized, it was actually my wife, Karen, who told me 4 years later after my father passed away that I had not celebrated my birthday. Ito po, from 1994 to 1998 or 1999. Sabi na, 1999, sabi na, it just occurred to me that you have not celebrated your birthday for 4 years. I think you should really come to terms with, the fact that you're doing it because of your father's passing. So after that, I just kind of pushed on, and it was a realization that some people will mourn, 1 year, some people will mourn 2 years, some people will mourn 10 years. Meron nga akong alam na isang naging estudyante ko dyan sa Development Academy of the Philippines. She was a government employee, nabalo, and she was, dressed very, very somber, very, parang bihis luksa. And I asked her about it, and she said, well, I'm a widow, blah, blah. And I said, yeah, your husband is already partying in heaven, and you're still mourning on earth. I think if he had a chance to come down, he would probably tell you, can you please move on because you are ruining the party. So yun po, no? Anyway, let's move on to our next guest, a regular here on agenda. And the reason being, presidential spokesperson Harry Roque has once again defended President Duterte, claiming that he is still the country's best communicator. This comes after Duterte received plenty of criticisms, saying that he wanted the police to bar people who are unvaccinated. He has been lambasted because of his comment with a certain unnamed mayor, etc., etc. Pero parang wala na eh. Nakakapagod na yung mga issue na yan. But let's say hello to our regular here on agenda when it comes to communications and public relations. Amor Maclang, co-founder of Geisler-Maclang Communications, Inc. Amor, good morning.
Good morning, Cito. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat.
Wag na muna natin pag-usapan yung issue. Kamustahin muna kita. Kamusta ka na ba? Kamusta na yung business mo? Do you still? I'm seriously curious. You know, is there still money to be earned in your field of work, communications, PR, etc.?
I think it's too early to be talking about money, but one thing I can really say is that this industry, I think, is one of the net beneficiaries of COVID. I don't know if there's any other way to say it, but I think especially now, because people are struggling to see how they can break back into what they think is going to be the new normal, and advertising spend has really gone down. I would have to say that I think this industry is one of those who've benefited from that. Yun na lang. Let's leave it at that.
No, but sorry. No. I'm curious. I'm not going into BIR details more. No. But I'm just curious. I mean, in what ways do you see information, communications, and PR benefiting from COVID? Kasi if at all, some people have the impression that ay nako, tong infodemic na ito nakagulo sa buhay ng legitimate information sources and communicators.
So, like for example, in our case, and Cito, you know this about me, we really focus on projects, right? We really focus primarily on projects that we feel the country and the world need. So, our portfolio is in what? Primarily in public health. A lot of it is in nascent technologies, particularly in areas like fintech. Why? Because there has been an upsurge, right, in transactions. Grabe, di ba? Globe Gcash mentioned something about last December, 1 trillion, 3.7 billion, nag-breach sila. So siguro it's where you decide to focus your energies, di ba? That's my take on it. And siguro yun din ang dapat gawin ng mga government officials natin. Saan dapat i-focus ang kanilang fire and brimstone and their ability to reach a big number of people.
Yeah, okay, well, you let the cat out of the bag. I've been trying to shoot the cat, but you let it out of the bag. So you raised it, you explain it. This thing about communications, because it seems that aside from the infodemic, there has been just too many talking heads, too many different directions, issues, etc. And people have just stopped listening. I can already sense this. Yung bang parang, pwede ba? Makinig na lang ako sa drama. Like me, I mean, I used to watch the news all the time. Now, embarrassed as it is, embarrassed as I am to admit, I'm already watching Japanese and Korean telenovela because
No shame there. I'm so happy, Cito. I'm so happy you are watching that.
But I find it culturally educating. Dito sa Pilipinas, parang puro na lang away. Okay, you let the cat out of the bag. What should our government officials do?
Okay. So, nung nabasa ko nga itong mga pinadala mo sa akin, sabi ko, I'm sorry, but we are not. Okay, number one, what has defined this administration administration, right? It's that fire and brimstone style, right? A very tough man, etc. But guess what? This is one time where I feel like tama nagkulang because they did not direct that fire and brimstone to the right area. And even Vice President Lenny, right? Ma'am, instead siguro po of focusing on a communication style no of each other, I need you guys to actually weigh in more and talagang magalit kayo who to anti-vaxxers, yung hindi nagbabakuna, people who are letting their guard down, hindi nagmamask. I'm not seeing enough anger in that front, Tito, quite honestly. Gusto ko makita nga si Pangulo using colorful words, no? To, sorry, I'm sure baka cancel culture ako ng mga anti-vaxxers dito, pero it's the only way. And I'm not seeing enough anger in that regard. At eto pa.
Oh.
Go ahead, sir.
No, but my concern is this: is the market, the audience sophisticated enough or mature? Huwag na sophisticated, mature enough. Kasi nagsalita naman si Presidente Duterte. Sinabi niya, kung kayo hindi bakunado, ayaw niyong magpabakuna, wag na lang kayong lumabas. Aba, ay biglang yung iba na interpret na, ay pag hindi kayo nabakuna, hindi kayo pwedeng lumabas. And you know, instead of saying, whose fault is it? I came to the conclusion, you know, maybe kailangan ispelengin. We need to spell it out syllable by syllable to these people na these are the rules. Kasi ang isa pang problema, Amor, you're very educated, you're well-informed. I bet you, if I asked you what are the protocols, restrictions for ECQ, GCQ, MECQ, heightened GCQ, you can't explain them kasi sobrang
Tama ka.
dami.
Hindi lang sa sobrang dami, lahat tayo actually is yearning to go back. Remember nung nagpunta ka ng Maynila to be vaccinated, ang una kong default, Cito, magkita tayo, let's go out and have lunch. I mean, di ba? Right? So the point is, you know what? It's not about the how, it's the what we're saying. And sorry, I feel really passionate about this because my family had a really close call with COVID. Also, no, thankfully, wala namang nangyari. Ang punto ko, we're all thinking that, ay nako, in next year's time, it's going to all come back to normal. But, you know, if there's one thing in crisis leadership that I think we need to talk about, it's that Stocksdale paradox, meaning it's the optimists who are not going to survive this. But I'm before the optimists out there cancel culture me. What we cannot lose is the belief that we will prevail. We will prevail. But trying to put a date to it, I remember nung nangyari to last year, ang tanong agad sa mga retailers, oh, when do you think is retail going to come back to normal? Alam mo ang sagot? Q3 or Q4 of 2021, right? Hello? Hello, 2021, Q3, Q4? No. If we continue to act as if everything is going to go back to the normal we were used to pre-COVID, it's not going to happen. Because the life we're going to go back to is going to be different. The problem is, Cito, no one is saying that. Everyone is trying to be overtly optimistic, right? So under pain of getting cancel cultured, I'm going to say it, right? I mean, I had such a personal call.
No, well, you're right. I'm happy to hear someone who shares my perspective. That if you're one of those who think things are going to be happy over Christmas, good luck to you, because I've always said we're still going to be in the same boat in 2022. Now here's the question, because we want to be of help for many people, no? Especially in government. Now I understand, like Undersecretary Vergere, her job is to be spokesperson for the DOH, to be a calming, rational, science-based individual, which is correct, no? Pero ang problema, ang kabangga naman niya are the LGUs who are on the ground facing reality and saying, we're better off scaring the hell out of people so they will stay home, they will wear their mask, they will socially distance, than us saying, well, there is not, the symptoms of Delta V is not yet confirmed, or there is no community spread. Para bang nagka-cancel, self-cancellation yung debate or yung information.
Actually, we should alam mo, ang mas matakot tayo, sir, is kung pare-pareho ang sinasabi natin. Okay? Do we want to be like a North Korea? Right? I mean, for me, the fact that Yusek Vergere is providing the science, and that's always been their philosophy, which is about we will only present the science. Doktor yon, first and foremost. Tapos I have a tough mayor who tells me don't go out of the house. I will celebrate that kind of diversity. I don't want to be like that country north of South Korea.
Yeah, well, that's fine that we don't want to be in a North Korean scenario, but we could be in a South Korean scenario where there is a scientist making limited, controlled announcements, everything based on science, na walang political commentary. Kasi I wrote a column and I said, Mr. President, can we just separate the politics from the pandemics? Can we just separate the spokesperson for politics to the spokesperson from the pandemic? Kasi nagkakakulay, nagkakaaway, and it doesn't resolve anything.
And that's why you're my idol. Can I just build on what you said? Which is, let's stop weaponizing vaccination. Ito, hindi to una. Alam mo, we're not learning. Our country is not learning. Nauna to nangyari during Dengvaxia. And I'll tell you what, from the science perspective, it's a perfectly good vaccine. Yes, I will go out and say that. It is now enjoyed in 20 plus countries except in the Philippines, right? Because for whatever reason, it was weaponized. Ngayon, ginagamit na naman natin ang pagbabakuna, and it's being weaponized again. And you know what is suffering? It's not the opposition or the pro-admin, it's the people. Our vaccine confidence is at an all-time low. Grabe talaga. And do you know, Cito, pre-pandemic, because of the measles outbreak, nagkaroon ng spike, di ba? Tumaas yung ating vaccine confidence. Ngayon, bagsak na naman dahil ang mga politiko, at nilalahat ko po kayo, ay wine-weaponize ang bakuna. Matuto na tayo.
Okay, now, as a communicator, how should we address the situation? Kasi parang, everybody wants to go pro-vaccination, health protocols, and then pag nagsabi kaming, anak ng ewan naman nasan ba yung bakuna? Bakit ba puro tayo build? Bumili na lang kayo ng bakuna. Bakit yung sa COA, dami raw billion na hindi nagagamit? Why don't we buy bakuna? And then it becomes suddenly, it's political na naman. Parang, hindi, he's a critic of the government. Parang, hello, may critic bang buhay? Ay, may critic bang na mabubuhay sa COVID-19?
Yeah, pero at the same time, 'di ba kung gobyerno ka, hindi mo naman po pwedeng i-direct lahat ng resources mo going into one intervention, no? So, ako natutuwa ako na despite that, patuloy pa rin ang build. Nakikita natin ang may nangyayari at may nagpo-progreso. So, hindi monomaniacal one track ang strategy ng gobyerno. So actually I like the diversity.
I'm not suggesting that we just singularly focus on vaccines, but we need the vaccines. May kasabihan tayo, bagay bata ka pa kasi, Amor, aanhin mo ang damo kung patay na yung kabayo. None of these infrastructure developments, this growth in GDP means anything to the 156 people that died yesterday from COVID-19. My point, I suppose, is, we need focus. Let Tugade take care of DOTR, Villar take care of DPWH, but we need, would you agree we need, sorry I don't want to be political, pero parang we need stronger leadership in the DOH and in the IATF to get the vaccines.
Actually, hindi lamang Pilipinas po ang nagkakaproblema. Look, COVID is back in China after being declared COVID-free, right? Israel is struggling, South Korea is struggling. Ano kaya yung naging problem? And sinasabi nila mas matindi at malakas ang mga protocol sa mga bansang ito, di ba? The point is, this is not just the job of the government. This is, nakakapagod man pakinggan. It's a societal response. And you know what? Not everyone is, kasi abang communicator lang ako, right? So, the point is we're not saying the same things hard enough. Okay? Yung mga positive na yan. Okay, yung mga positive na yan, hindi kailangan I've been in the business of pushing public health for almost 20 years, right? And guess what? The only thing that works is scare. Sorry.
Exactly.
So it's the only thing that will work. This is not about making them feel good about being vaccinated. It has to approach that, no? And we're just not saying it strongly enough at the same time. Even the business community, they're saying, we'll be open up again soon, right? Hindi eh.
Yeah, wait
We're
a minute,
being
Amor.
optimists.
I have an important question to ask you. Kasi sasabihin nila, hindi, si Beltran, journalist lang yan broadcaster yan Amor, you're a communicator, you're private sector. Do you see enough messaging from anyone and everyone regarding yung sinasabi mo na yung vaccination, health protocols, etc.? Kasi sinasabi ko, puro na lang kayo Facebook. Ang nakakapanood lang dyan yung may oras manood ng Facebook.
There's not enough condemnation where condemnation to be, no? So, kaya nga sinasabi ko, parang nasasayangan ako dun sa pagiging matapang na communicator ng gobyernong ito because I think we need to condemn more. So, and when people condemn the right things, right, which is not doing social distancing, not vaccinating, bakit niyo i-condemn people for condemning the right things, no? Ginagawa na naman natin politika. So, like for example, the government officials now were calling for a better way to communicate. Please use your airtime instead, right, to condemn the anti-vaxxers, to condemn those who are not. Di ba, meron pa rin ako naririnig dito about vaccine hesitancy kasi daw it doesn't work. Oh my God, right? It boggles my mind. So I really appreciate that you take time to do this.
Okay, mabilisan na lang, no? One big suggestion. If I were to ask you, okay, Ms. Maclang, I can fund the project. What exactly should we do? What is the one project you want to do to get this situation cleared up?
I wish it were as simple as one project, but I think what we really need to do is work together to first and foremost accept the fact that we're not going to go back to the old normal. It's not going to be. So all of the messaging, for example, that I'm hearing is aligned. So halimbawa, business sector would say, our sector is going to bounce back at this date. By putting a date, you become that optimist, that prisoner of war scenario, that Stocks-Dale paradox I was talking about, who eventually will not make it. What we need to be is we need to believe we will survive, but we have to confront the ugly realities of the now. And wherever the chips may fall, condemn. If, for example, yung mga bagay na kailangan i-condemn, we have to condemn it strongly and not talk about communication styles.
Well, okay, maybe a better word is call out. Okay, thank you very much.
No, Cito, we need condemnation.
Okay.
Maraming salamat, Cito.
Thank you very much, Amor. And that's
Stay
Ms.
well,
Amor.
please, my friends. Stay well.
Okay. That's Ms. Amor Maclang, co-founder of Geisler-Maclang Communications, Inc. And you heard it straight from her. Derechahan lang naman po. And we've come to the end of the program, the end of the week. I thank God for just seeing us through, especially with our technical difficulties. And we thank all our guests this week who, in one way or another, gave us more information. Thank you for joining us. I'm Cito Beltran, and that's Agenda for You.